Really excited about doing this. I've got my man Johnny V. You guys had a couple of you guys had reached out to me a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, we really like this guy. Bring him back." So I've listened. I'm doing a special episode here with Johnny V, which I'm super excited about. And today we're going to be talking about turning nightmare clients into dream partners. All right, so let's kick this off, Johnny. It sounds, when we were chatting earlier, that you might have some experience with a few nightmare clients. So let's maybe start there and see what kind of horror stories you have in your bag.
Yeah, dude. So listen to this. I mean, originally we were going to be chatting about storytelling and
Right.
sales and that sort of thing. But I reached out to you and I'm like, we got to shift the gears here
Yeah.
because I received here. I'm going to show you this. It probably won't even show up on camera, but I received this purchase order for $7,350 from a
Okay.
client of mine who's a builder. That this purchase order is for rework.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with our work. Everything wrong with the way the relationship with their client is going.
Yeah.
And I knew this was coming, dude. I saw this coming from a mile away because, there was a fireplace on this project that they had to redo like 9 times to make this client happy.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, I know everybody struggles with that nightmare client, the one that's looking over your shoulder, telling your
Hmm.
crews what to do, always picking out problems, and it's a struggle for everybody. I've experienced it myself, um, but now I've got this, and this is a builder, and he's going through the project, and he's trying to get the hell out
Right.
and just can't do it. So this is a $7,300 PO. And this isn't even the end of it. He still has
Hmm.
to pay the plumber. And by the way, I own a tile company. I don't know if we
Yeah.
brought that up. Um, so
No,
that's
but
what
let
this
everyone know.
rework is for. Of course, that's what
Okay.
this rework is for. There's still the plumber. There's the framer. There's other trades that are involved in this. So this client of mine is going to be eating like $15,000, and
Hmm.
I know this project is going bad. So to everybody out there, we've all experienced this, and I think it's great to shift gears into this because now we can talk about what to do. And I think, Jay, you can probably contribute a lot more to
I,
this, dude,
I
but
have
like,
I have
where does it start?
ongoing. Yeah. Right. So for me, from my perspective, it's not 100% preventable. So that's something that everybody has to understand. And you can turn a good client into a bad client with your breakdown in systems and communication, but always in every situation, and believe me, like I've it's kept me up at nights. It's destroyed my teams. It's like all it takes is that one customer to really test your business, and like everything will be going along, and then bam, you hit one. And I've had a whole bunch of them in the commercial side and the residential side. And here's what I've learned that has been my best method of working with these kind of clients, and I'll share it with you. It's very simple. At the end of the day, the first thing you have to keep in mind if you're dealing with them directly is to neutralize your emotions. Okay, zero benefit comes from being emotional or feeling cheated or like all of those feelings. If you are not under control, walk away, ask for more time, do whatever you have to do, but neutralize those emotions. And again, this is something we teach in the contractor AI in terms of how to do that and like a system for doing that, because it's almost impossible sometimes when somebody's really like digging in and taking advantage. And I've been there, and I mean, I and for the wrong reasons, and like scamming and all those kind of things. It's easy to let your emotions slip, and for people that are doing it on purpose, they're looking for those signs. So that's the first kind of step in mastering it yourself. The second, always be documenting, always
Oh
be
yeah.
note taking, picture taking, always make sure in every project you do. And again, it's gotten so easy with technology, is you want to have a track record. All right. And the reason you want to have a track record of the entire job, and I know guys, it's so easy just not to figure that, but you get so far down the line with this stuff that by the time it comes to an argument, you remember, like, you always want to think worst case scenario, like what happens if this ends up in court. Now I've unfortunately been in court many of times over situations like this, where you have a bad customer, similar to even what you're explaining, where they hand out bills to everybody inadvertently because a job went bad, or a contractor all of a sudden doesn't want to pay, the holdbacks and stuff like that. The writing's on the wall. It's coming, even if
Right.
you were or were not part of it. So this is where you need to create leverage. Now, the last thing you ever want to do is take something to small claims or to court. Like I promise you that is the worst route. But what you can do is create leverage, intelligent leverage. Okay. Intelligent leverage means, number one, I been documenting from the start, good, bad, or ugly. It's going to tell you a story that you can look at and figure out where things went off track. If I'm going to take, a $25,000 bath, you're damn right I'm going to take some valuable lessons from that, because that's all I can get.
Right.
All right. And my team is also going to absorb those lessons as well, because at the end of the day, the worst mistake you can make is keeping silent and holding it to your own thing. You got to teach your team how it happened, why it happened, how to prevent it. 3 lessons learned. You got to get them involved. Get their, again, if you got people, lead your people. Don't try and fight this at the top or in silence, because what will happen again is it will repeat and it will repeat and it will repeat. A lot of these mistakes happen in poor communication, generally from sales to production handoff. I mean, if I had to call it, 90% of the time, it's a poor production to sales handoff, or it's a breakdown of communication during the project. And again, when you get back to certain clients, knowing their personality type as you're starting a job, avoiding certain, red flags. I can't, a
Yep.
lot of guys know the red flags are already there. If your gut's telling you walk away, walk away. And that was the hardest thing for me to learn. And that was, again, where as you mature as a business, your tolerance for bullshit goes way down, right? So like those jobs where you shouldn't, and you shouldn't, you learn from, being burned enough times. It's like, nope, no, thank you, goodbye. Like it makes it easy to say no. No is my favorite word, but yes used to be my favorite word. So like as a recovering people pleaser, all right, I had to remove that, and the only way I could do that, again, like I said, was master my own emotions first. Just stopping and thinking for a second, all right, and ask yourself the simple question: am I emotional? Am I upset, frustrated, mad, angry, scared? Like what am I feeling? If you've got anything other than neutral, back away. Get away from the situation. Get away from the thing. Make decisions in a neutral mindset. If you can't be there and something's really upsetting you, then you need to already start to get outside help for making those decisions, because that is where I see things escalate. And you always want to be de-escalating. You always, if somebody's coming in with a temper or anger, that's your advantage. Okay. And a lot of times I've been able to reverse it with clients and making them explain their logic and making them explain, the steps that they took for us to get here, and then backing myself up with my facts and my timeline and going, no,
Yes.
that's not true. No, that's not true. And then the last thing, and the secret sauce to the way that I run my jobs, is I have a bulletproof contract that they very rarely read through entirely, that protects me in so many situations. So I'll give you a very good, easy example. We work for builders from time to time. One of the things they're famous for doing is delaying you, all right, multiple times, setting up trades and stuff in front of you, not giving you a clear pathway, so you can do your job, having you come back multiple times. Well, I leverage that. I don't pull it out, and I also have an escalating price clause in my contract. I have a whole bunch of other daggers that, if provoked, I will use. Right. So here's the conversation. We get towards the end of the job, and the contractor all of a sudden changes his tune and goes, we've had these back charges, and I'm going to back charge you this, and I'm going to back charge you that, or like we have all these deficiencies. No problem. But we should review the contract. Let's go ahead and review the contract,
You
because
have that baseline.
I'm going to promise you I will stick to every letter of my contract. All right. And I'm going to hold you accountable, and you're going to hold me accountable, because in there we agreed to terms that were fair for both of us. I want to make sure we're back at that place to have that fair discussion now. And once they start seeing how much leverage I've built up on them, and my timelines just back it up. Now, I don't go in like, trying to cause accusation. I calmly, coolly let them, vent, let them explain everything. All right. Remember, you want to act like the lawyer here. All right. Collect the evidence. Let them say everything that they want to say. And these are worst case scenarios, I should be clear. All right. And then only when they've crossed a couple of X's, now you're going to politely and as calmly as you can start to explain your position, but you're coming from a position of fact. All right. And that's going to de-escalate things. Okay. Rather than, oh, you should have done this or doing that, or trying to repeat yourself with words. It doesn't work. Okay. Document, emails, timelines, all of these things can be very quickly generated if you're documenting all along. So we use Company Cam, we use notes, we use on a
Yep.
day-to-day, we have a daily work report. We have conversations that we've had between us when things start to get, escalated, we start recording calls and letting them know that, right? So again, you want to make sure that you are standing your ground. And for some contractors, again, we're talking about if you're working for a general or something like that. We can talk about homeowners and beyond that as well, because they're just as crazy and if not worse, way worse. And really, again, look at where things go off track. If you want to get back, be the leader. Again, your documents are what's going to save you. If you ever get into a situation where someone's refusing to pay or anything like that, you've got to remember everything is evidence. So plan all your projects like you have to get paid in court. That would be
Right.
my suggestion,
That's
right?
funny you say that, because that's one of the lessons that I learned from an old employer of mine. Treat every project like you're going to court,
That's
and
what
you'll
we do.
never get there,
Right.
right? So it's cool because you're covering a lot of like avoidance, right?
Yeah.
How to strategically, set yourself up for the avoidance part of it. And I always
Hmm.
make the joke that we're contractors, we're not psychologists,
Right.
but it helps to be one, right? It
Well,
helps to
well,
understand the perspective of the client.
wait till you get a couple of $100,000, $200,000 losses under your belt, and you'll convert very quickly, very quickly. So again, it's and contractors in general are difficult. It's difficult to have these conversations. It's difficult to give them advice on these things, especially if they haven't been through it enough yet. Like one bad client, they can forget and move on, right? But as you scale, you got to think if you had one for every 100 clients while you were small, right? What's that? Once every 5 years, like no
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
What happens when now you start to scale and grow, and those become more frequent because they do, right? I would say every 1 in 100, 1 in maybe 200 are by and large difficult. Now, difficult is not like nightmare. There is a very big difference. So there are some people that again are their entire objective is to screw you over. And I've had those. Those are real, like the next to criminals. All right, and there's red flags for all of those signs. Things to avoid. Just in general, you may have come across them. They're scammers, right? They're trying to work you, and trying to outsmart you on things. And we pick up those signs right away. And we've gotten to the point even in situations where we terminate the contract even before we start just because we get that feeling, and I always leave myself that position. If you don't feel right about going into a contract or you're tense for, no real logical reason, walk away. That's
That's
all I can say.
yeah,
It takes, yeah, it takes some experience, but walk away, like get out of there.
I have to find opportunities to squeeze in a word when you start going. And
Sorry.
no, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm rarely ever going to find an opportunity to disagree with you, but I think I might have something here.
Sure.
Now you mentioned about like people out there that are, like their mission is to scam you and that sort of thing. In my experience, yes, it happens and it appears that way from your perspective, but there's something
Hmm.
else going on there. And this is like the psychology part of it, right?
Hmm.
Not one person that's ever trying to scam you has, like, they've always justified it in their mind, right?
Hmm.
I guess the trick is to try and remove any justification along the way that could make them feel that way, right? So
Hmm.
really it's a matter of, like, I guess that customer or client not feeling heard, or whatever the reason is why they're trying to scam you out of money, they've justified it,
Hmm.
right? So what can we do to remove that?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're asking me, there is a stark line. So, like a difficult client, I make my living with difficult clients. Like I take the clients that most people can't manage because of my communication and our systems and the way we really do white glove our experience with our clients. All right. Now, I've learned that out of necessity. Okay. Because the other way around, where you're trying to be friends with your client, trying to build relationships and stuff like that, which is
Yep.
important. Okay, it it doesn't matter when shit hits the fan. Okay, when shit hits the fan, that's where I've learned to be always in control, always backing myself up, and it has helped us to take accountability as well. All right, so here's something I want to make sure that everybody does is reflect on your own behavior first. Are you taking accountability when you make mistakes? Because I see a lot of contractors that make a mistake, try to cover it up, and it only gets worse. And the client picks up on that and they lose their faith in you, right?
Now that's
There is
interesting you
a
say that.
an importance that you are, again, you're acting as judge and jury here, and you're judging your own actions, okay, accordingly. So again, it comes back to core values. It comes back, and I've had so many situations where I get tested on this. One very recently, where a roof leak occurred, but it had absolutely nothing to do with us. It was a plumbing issue, and the customer called me. He'd been with us, like he'd done hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work with us. Was upset about the damage. We sent our team out. We fixed the problem. We proved to him that it wasn't a problem. We gave him a report. We set up a drywall, repair person. I mean, it cost me a few bucks, but I put myself in his position. I put myself in his shoes,
Mhm.
and it was my opportunity again to take accountability. So, was it me that broke the plumbing pipe? It could have been 5 years ago. It was possible. Was it still my responsibility because it was leaking? Yes. All right. So, did he sign a contract with me expecting a high level of service and a high level of accountability? Yes. Is it my position to take it there? Yes. All right. So without making excuses, we took the accountability. All right. And sometimes it's you get into situations like that. Now, where I see it fail is contractors in general don't want to take any accountability. So for themselves. So think about how that reflects to your client. So if you always argue, like again, something is a deficiency, an obvious deficiency, but you're blaming the next guy and the next guy,
Yep.
all
You're in
right. And I
defense.
have
Yep.
it with subcontractors. Immediately you're looking to defend. You're not
Yep.
looking to understand. You're not looking to investigate it like you would it's a crime scene. All right. And this is where I got my mindset from. Because if I'm wrong, I want to be accountable. If it's a better position to be in than to try and argue with it, because it only ever gets worse from there. If you're actually in the wrong and you're trying to cover that, you're trying to, avoid the responsibility, you are going to get yourself in more trouble, and you're going to dig your hole deeper, because again, in the eyes of your client, you have no credibility. And next, guess what? There's no forgiveness on the next thing and the next thing that may come up. And now they start to nitpick, and it becomes a back and forth war. Whereas if you just took the accountability in the beginning, you said, "Hey, you know what? You're absolutely right, and it's okay. Listen, we all make mistakes." I always tell my clients, just like I tell my staff, my job is to get it right. At the end of the day, like I can't always be right. I can't always be perfect, nor is anybody, but I promise that I come to the table. I give you accountability when I'm wrong. I'll say I'm wrong, right? And that again is how you lead your projects in situations like that. And how many situations where a small bit of accountability, if it is your bag, all right, goes a long way. You know what I mean? And what are you teaching to your staff? What are you teaching as a principal in business? Like again, you gotta ask yourself. So if you're not there yet, work on that first, and you're gonna find that automatically things will improve with your customer service. And I think, again, coming back to your question, it's kind of hard, right? It's a difficult, it's a judgment thing, is what I would say, right?
Yeah. It's like going back to the climate. I mean, we're contractors. At the end of the day, a lot of clients come into the relationship already suspicious,
Yeah,
especially if they've
absolutely,
had a lot of bad
absolutely,
experiences, or they hear all kinds of nightmare stories. So right
absolutely.
away, the deck stacked against you at the beginning.
Hmm.
So how do you build up that trust where you become the authority and you're assertive and you're the professional,
So
right? And that has a lot to do with it.
this goes all the way back to your marketing. Okay. So before the relationship even started, okay, this is honest to God, and I've tracked this and I've seen this. Let's say your marketing is saying a fully supervised staff. Okay. You give the impression like you're this, you know, sustained company. All right. And then you show up with a bunch of guys, you know, but poor safety rules, like, leaving the house a mess, like everything that you had said in your marketing or in your offer
Yeah.
was inaccurate. And I can't tell you, 90% of the problems start from sales to production handoff. And here's what I mean, to add a little bit to this. Assume everyone doesn't trust you. We are in the post
Yeah.
trust. We're in the post trust era. Nobody trusts anything or anyone. Okay, no, no, like let's be
It's
honest.
true.
Like
It's
we
true.
are in the post trust era. I assume nobody has any trust to me, and it's my responsibility to earn that trust. And it starts with, what did I say to them in my marketing? What was the message that they got? And am I delivering on that initial core offer? If it's I don't know, or you've got a marketing company like making offers for you don't even understand, then you've already screwed yourself right off the bat. Okay. I can't even begin to tell you. You put yourself at the disadvantage. And it's funny, the companies that are more disconnected from their marketing, that let, random guys off the internet do their offers for them, guess what they have? A lot of customer service problems. Why?
Mm,
Because the customer that they were trying to speak to, all right, is not matched to their business. So for example, I deal with a high level clientele. Their needs and wants and desires and core problems are nothing compared to a blue collar client. Nothing. They're night and day. Okay. They're looking for high quality. They're looking for experience. They're looking for leadership. They want a consultant. They want somebody they can trust at their level. All right. They want paperwork. They want, responsibility. They want accountability. More or less, they just want me to get rid of the problem, solve it
right.
for them. All right. Without them being involved. Okay. Now, in order for them not to be involved, what do I have to do? I have to prove to them that I'm capable of running a project above or above their expectation level. All right, and that starts right from the marketing. So what did my salesman say to them? Did my salesman go in and go, hey, I got this deal for you? They don't like that. That
You're right.
already sets off a mistrust. Okay. Did I say, and like, go look at your websites? That's a good place to start. Go and scour those websites that you guys have had up there probably for 5-6 years, and read what you've put in there, because I don't think a lot of contractors know what they put out, but your customer does. They took a lot of time to research you, figure out if this company fits me, if they can settle my or solve my problem. All right. And then you've let them down at the door. All right. They've committed to you. So they've given you their trust, and they've shown that with their money, deposits, everything else. What have you given back to earn their trust? And then again, when they have concerns, what are you saying? Are you just saying something to sell the job, or do you mean what you say? Right. And I see this a lot where guys are afraid to tell a customer no, afraid to draw a boundary. Oh, we'll do
That's a
that. We'll
big
do that.
problem. Yep.
Big problem.
Yep.
And it's really because they don't have structure. Structure in their sales and their marketing would allow them to have the confidence to say no. And like I said, the strongest word that you can learn as a contractor is the word no, because you can't meet everyone's expectations. And when you say yes, you better mean yes. You better mean it to the highest degree, and think like, if you think yes is, can you do this extra piece of work? Think of about how you're going to deliver that with 10% more. All right. Because that's the expectation. If you go into it understanding what your words mean to your clients and their trust, you are going to run a very well ran business. A lot of the problems that occur down the line at collections and everything else all occurred because of this. They already started off mistrusting you. And one bad move that gives them a taste of, I can't trust these people. And boom, we're into them micromanaging and being concerned, because you've set off a emotion inside them, all right, that they have to control now, right?
Yeah, the micromanaging thing, I think it's important. First of all, I didn't
Yeah.
expect you to go into marketing being a big part of the solution
Yeah.
right off the hop. That makes total sense.
Hmm.
Um, but when a customer feels that they need to get involved, I think that's an important pivot point, because that's when things are starting to go wrong. That's like the alarm
Hmm.
bell that something's going wrong. They're getting involved. They're telling your people what to do. They're picking all the problems. They're
Hmm.
already suspicious. Let's talk about recovery, because recovery of a relationship shouldn't happen when I get this,
Right.
right? It should
Right.
happen when that starts happening. And that is
Right.
the biggest experience I think a lot of contractors face. So what do we do?
So first things first, you have to be comfortable hurting some feelings
For sure.
to reset. Okay. So I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a client and I know they're upset. I can feel it. Everyone, those situations,
For
right? Like
sure.
something's going wrong, and they want to be heard. They want to vent to you. Okay. You give them that platform to vent to, and ask good questions. Again, this is a sales strategy. I'm not going to say strategy. Um, you have to genuinely want to solve a problem. All right. With anything, if you want to be good at anything in your life, um, I found that it always comes back to how well you solve problems. Good salespeople, the best ones that I've ever seen, are problem solvers first. Okay.
Right.
So when you genuinely understand there's a problem, don't go in thinking you have the solution to it. Okay. Go in being curious to know
Listen.
why and how.
Yep.
You've got to really, and it's hard for me sometimes. I think it's hard for every contractor, because you're caught up in the moment. Again, neutralize emotions, go in it with intention to listen, not to speak, let them vent. Walk away with the information. You don't have to respond, and you don't have to be the right guy in the room all the time. The best way I've diffused this is taking notes, listening, letting them vent. All right, not answering if I can't. Okay, I'm not there to make excuses, and your clients don't want excuses. Okay, they want a solution to the original problem. So if you want to diffuse it, first get them to vent on you, get them to brain dump whatever, all the things that they feel. This is going to help your business and make sure you don't get back in the problem again. Okay, because there's always, everything you do, every bad in this world can have a positive and a right to it, right? So just like I
Yeah.
said, in terms of neutralizing every negative, there's a positive to it. All right, if you go in and think about it, and how do I get back to neutral? All right, that's by balancing the negative and the positive. So if you take all those points and then you think properly and non-emotionally about how to resolve it, I guarantee you're going to get your project back on place. So let's give it as an example. Might be helpful. Okay,
Sure.
I have a super pissed off client. The reason why they won't tell you is because the salesman told them they were going to get gutter guards. Okay, and that was in the original advertising. And then during the project, well, they were at the top side. They were really happy about getting it. The salesman talked his wife into getting snow guards all the way around the roof,
Hmm.
neglecting that we'd already said we would give free gutter guard. Now, my client calls me and is upset about oil canning, upset about the garbage on the yard, upset about the crews that's showing up late, thinks our guys are alcoholics and drunks, understands that, our salesman, doesn't show up on time, gives me this laundry list of things. All right, my first thing, all right, Mr. Customer, and is there anything else that, kind of is sparking you to feel this way? Yeah, you're feeling something. Can you, like, honestly, like, are you frustrated? Like, are you upset with me? Like, figure out that emotion first. Okay. Now you're going to diffuse it, right? So after you've collected and answered, like, ask good questions.
Yeah.
Like, why? What sparked that? And you're going to get back to real answers. All right. And be like, I'm here for nothing more. I just need to understand the situation. I understand that we've lost the trust on this job, and my job here is not to discredit anything that you're going to say to me, but I really need to understand how we got here, and I'm gonna work my hardest to get us out of this position. Is that fair? Absolutely. Okay. Great. Now I'm gonna listen, and I'm not gonna take the surface level questions, because he could have told me all that in his vent. As he starts to calm down a little bit, I'm gonna start in with, well, you said earlier that our salesman was a drunk, and what got you there? What makes you say that? Right? And then he'll go a little deeper. It's just, again, we use it in sales all the time.
Yeah. You're digging.
It's
Yeah.
right, because the real answer is not going to be on the surface. All
Never.
right. So if you take the surface information and start to respond to that without understanding the real root cause or root core of what the problem was, all right, you're going to find yourself going in circles with these people, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. It's just the epitome of digging your hole deeper. You got to stop, slow down, let them explain, and get into it, like into the details, by asking good questions. If you can remember that, don't defend yourself, don't give forward like, I'm going to do this, or offers. Do nothing more than ask questions and be genuinely curious of, how did I get to this situation? All right, go in it with the right mindset to that, and you're going to solve it 9 times out of 10. And this applies to commercial jobs. Like, if someone sees that you're working hard to solve their problem, whatever it may be, because they don't know the answer to it, they came to you because they didn't have the answer
Yeah.
to the problem, and now you've forced them into it. You forced them to think about things that they didn't, and it may or may not be your fault. But what you find most of the time is that their emotions got a hold of them. They got overexcited about something, and when you start to diffuse that with them, all right, and again, it comes back to you knowing how to do it yourself for yourself. All right, if you can't
Absolutely.
do it, don't get yourself in this role, right? But again, I'm naturally an emotional dude, believe it or not. But I do practice, like, how do I come to neutral? Like, how do I, and I've got a system, by the way, we offer that system
It's
to
a
all of our
skill.
clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Awesome.
learned skill,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you were to apply the same system with your client, all right, you're going to get them to a neutral spot where a genuine conversation can occur, and where compromise can be made, where solutions can be discussed. But if you've got a overly, pissed off client, your job first is to listen to why they're pissed off and take that heat,
Yeah.
right?
And I don't want you to get too far away from this story.
Yeah.
because it's particularly powerful because a lot of contractors experience exactly what you said. The
Hmm.
customer's pissed off about this, pissed off about that, and it's hard for them to wrap their head around like what the hell's going on.
Right.
But you dig a little deeper, and there's that core issue where it all
Right.
started. Where did this all come from?
Hmm.
And by the time that customer is already at the state where they're upset about your salesperson being a drunk and all these other things
Hmm.
that are bothering them, did we really have to let it go that far? Right?
No.
That problem could have been diffused right at the beginning. So I think that the power and the skill here of
Hmm.
this, what we're talking about, is that first sign. Let's
Hmm.
stop it at that first sign and maintain the relationship, not recover it, maintain it.
Right.
Right. So we
Right.
got to pay attention.
Yeah, and this comes down, and again, I'll jump in on this. So you if you rely on a high level of skill to do these things, and you're having to do it, like this is a very infrequent thing that would happen. Like I'm talking one in every 100 clients. Okay. But for guys that are suffering more often than that, you've got to
Right.
stop and look at the client journey. Okay. This is back to a marketing and sales. Like all of these things should have been planned out before that customer. Like you remember, you're trying to build in your business a conveyor belt. All right. Every transaction, every word, everything that you say means something. Okay. And too often or not, guys don't get their messaging correct. And this follows them through the client journey. You are taking somebody outside their comfort zone. All right. So,
Right.
for example, I'm doing work on somebody's house or in somebody's house. Let's use that as a good one. You are an intruder. All right.
Good point.
You have already rose their guard. Okay. And no matter what, okay, they're going to be defensive. They're going to be on edge about getting something done. You're putting them in a comfortable zone. Even if you do it every single day and they trust you because you do it every single day, they've heard, you know, news. You don't know what else is going in through their head. And
Right.
you've got to think about that as a business owner to understand, okay, you know, a really good way to neutralize a client before, like, keep up with your follow up, mean everything you say, right? If you promised that you know your company shows up, you know, when I say, like, do those
Do
things,
it.
right? Because you promised it, and that's why they chose you. If you're not connected to that, you've already set it off on the wrong track. Now, as it goes through, guess what? Every stage, every step can be plotted and planned. And guess what? Your team knows that. Your team knows the customer journey. Oh, by the way, on the second day, you know, our secretary calls them, you know, to do to have a call and check their temperature. We do that. Easy stuff. Way
Very smart.
easier. You have
Yep.
somebody that's neutral in the situation, not the project manager, not the salesperson. Especially imagine you know, a wife dealing with the contractor. I have a, you know, a female caller that's only concerned about customer service, that's going to call her and see how she's feeling while the project's being done. Simple. How many problems get solved right there? But it's a part of my client. It's a task that gets done on a script on every single job. Why? Because I want my customer to end the experience in a neutral place where he's happy to pay me, give me a review and a referral. Now, all of that from start to finish, from the marketing to the end of the job where they give you a referral, you should be creating a loop. All right. If you're creating a loop, guess what? You'll never have to struggle to get leads. And like, this is what I mean about what is it that you offer as your core. You can't just offer a service, right? You've got to offer an
An
experience.
experience.
That's right.
100%.
So
Yeah.
if your experience is well thought out, and it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's built into every system, every process, every word, everything you train to your guys, and these problems don't happen. When they do, hey, listen, if I have to diffuse one out of every 100, okay, not a big deal. If I'm doing this on a daily basis, big deal. You need to stop what you're doing and fix the problem.
Right. Now when things finally go bad, like is that any different than rework? I mean, like we're contractors
Yeah,
and we build things. This is what we do. We would
right.
never skip a step. We would always back check our steps. Like there's a
Yep.
process to building something. We're not going to wait until things are really bad to fix something.
For sure. So, and there's always gonna, like, as you're maturing as a contractor, like you know, you go through these experiences. It's okay to make a mistake. All right. First of all, it's impossible to avoid them. They're gonna happen. Shit happens.
Right.
Shit happens to me all the time. But it's what you do and how you improve that client journey to prevent it from happening again that is the differentiator between making it and not making it. Okay.
Right.
So, you know, again, if you are repeating mistakes over and over again because you're just busy, all right, well, why are you so busy? Like, why? if you don't fix this core problem. So I'll give you a very good example of a couple of years ago and how SOPs work in my business. All right. I have
Yeah.
one rule. I don't care how catastrophic the mistake is. Okay. And it's taken me a while to get there, but I don't care if if it's the first time. The first time offers benefit to me. Okay. The benefit is we can, get our leaders involved. We can do lessons learned. We get new SOPs out of it. Like, we force everybody to look at mistakes critically. Okay. Now, it's not to shame people. It's not the woulda, coulda, shoulda. No, it's true leadership. How do we prevent it from happening again? What happened? Right? Let's act as our, like, this is a crime scene. Let's slow down. Let's learn from this. Let's make sure we've documented so it doesn't happen again. And at the end of the day, as long as it doesn't repeat, when it repeats, that's where I go to micromanager, and
Right.
now I'm losing trust in what people said to me. And if it's your core value, that honesty, integrity, those kind of things, well, now you have leverage when you're having these conversations. And again, consequence makes sense. But if you're just ad hoc, having repeated mistakes over and over again, that's a systems and a business problem, and you need to solve that, right? And again, I think too many guys avoid these things and blame others instead, right? So, if a same problem has come up more than once on your projects, all right, that's your fault. The first time, shit happens. The second time, your fault.
Right. And it's probably because you're a yes man and not a recovering
That's
yes
right.
man like Jay.
That's right. Well, and again, it takes a lot of damage to move this
For
caveman
sure.
head of mine, right? So, like, and again, how many times do we spend, like, we're out with the family and we're thinking, like, what the fuck happened there? Like, what this? And like, I've had, staff tell me that they're burnt out from it. Like, I can't understand what, like, listen, it's because, first of all, you're not neutralizing before you're making decisions. And I
Yep.
know I'm going to sound like a broken record. You don't know how to neutralize somebody else, because if you can't neutralize your own emotions and understand the difference between, anxiety and dwelling on the past, if you can't do that for yourself, you're not in a position to help somebody else do it. And that's really where the if you want true results from, or an outcome, all right, you have to be in that mindset. You
That's
have
a
to
good
come
point.
off as being neutral. If you're going in, even being excited to solve the problem, like, you're gonna like, it's not a place to deal with a client. If you're going in there to try and prove yourself, or you go in there even worse and try to just give things away to make the client happy, no, you can't do that. That will cost your business. That will cost you a lot of time and aggravation, and they'll take advantage of that. Again, you got to think, if you give something to somebody, all right, and this is where my experience has been, oh, no problem, I'll take care of that. Oh, I'll take
Yeah.
care of that. Oh, I'll do
Right.
this, I'll do that. Next thing you know, they're just loving it, like, everything they want, right? And you know what? Those guys, they don't refer you. They don't respect you either, right?
Never. And you're setting
Never.
an expectation. It's like our job is to
Right.
manage the expectation of the clients. And by saying yes to everything, you're setting an
That's right.
expectation that's what they're the boss and you're the employee. And you
Right.
have to break that.
And guess what? You will not get a referral. Like, a lot of guys chase it thinking, oh, well, I'll just get the next job, or they'll,
Never.
this is a good situation for me. I'll tell you, the best relationships I have in the construction world are the guys that I told to fuck off probably more than once. Right.
That I've experienced that time and time again. You're absolutely right. But not tell them to fuck off. I mean, there's
Yeah.
polite
I
ways and
mean,
professional ways of
for
saying it,
sure.
but
Politely
being
fuck off.
assertive and saying
Yeah.
no, like respecting yourself. Yeah, politely.
Right.
Fuck off, please.
Yeah. Right. Like, be nice about it.
But some of the best relationships I've had have
Mhm.
started from a place of conflict. And that's the truth, right?
Because that's where you're tested. And again,
Right.
this is B2B. Like, think about it. Like, and I do it with subcontractors. I purposely put them under pressure and see how they'll respond. Like, I know what I'm doing when I'm looking for. If somebody's going to crack at, like, entry level, when I put some pressure on them and, like, hold them accountable, that's not the person for my team, and I'll see you
Right.
later. That my subcontractors, and again, put yourself in the same shoes. If you're working for a big general, all right, you might be excited. This might be your first big job, but I am, and everyone has to learn, right? But you are pure bait. And the reason why is because, again, if they can just get their way with you, all right, they don't have any trust in you.
Right.
And I promise you that. Like you lose your and it can't be that way. That's not a partnership. That's a master slave situation, right?
No, and there's another element to this too. I mean, if they get their way with you, you have to remember, like, we're the contractors, we're the professionals, we're the
Hmm.
ones that are qualified to make these sort of decisions and to steer this process. And what you're doing is you're putting that in the hands of an unqualified person.
Correct.
You are
Correct.
surrendering the control to somebody who's not
Hmm.
qualified to have that control. So, what do you
That's right.
expect the outcome's going to be?
That's right. And it's just about drawing those boundaries, right? Like again, good process can prevent these things. So again, not everybody is a good true leader. Not
Right.
everybody's good with conflict.
Fair.
Most really good foremen are good at, like, obviously good at conflict management. But I'll tell you, the majority of the guys that I see that are in the foreman position are more of a defender type profile. So they're really, you know, they're the guys that have been there for a long time, that have been just moved up into those roles. They haven't had a lot of training. They haven't, dealt with conflict, and they want to please the customer. They want to please you, the business. Okay. Again, this is where we see a lot of problems. My guys don't know what to do. They do this, they do that. But at the end of the day, your process, your system, all right, is and the the rules to the game that you set in the sales process, all right, that you set down with the client. Sometimes it's as easy as, before a job starts, we're gonna have a kickoff. And I'm going to have the salesman and the production manager both there for a big project. And we're going to discuss how we communicate. We're going to discuss how, what forms of communication, where, when, why, all of
That's
those things
important.
immediately at the beginning. And you know what we're going to do as well? We're going to get the client to sign off. Like we do pre-roof inspections. We do that because we've been burned so many times. It has 170 points on it. 170. And every one of those I can tell you a story about. All right. Every single one that's on that form, broken windows, damaged driveways, like,
Shit.
fucking, you name it. I have gone as far, like, on my thing. Is there a structural deficiency that will cause the house to collapse? That's a yes or no question. Why do you think it's there? Like, again, I lived through these things where whose fault is it, right? That the roof
Yeah.
collapsed in. Okay. Was this preventable? Is this something and the answer to that one, by the way, yes, we should never have touched the roof if there was structural, issues that were going on. But again, we don't think about these things until they happen,
That, yeah,
right?
and that happens at the very beginning. And
Absolutely. And it's always in that handoff to the client. So it's a transfer of authority.
right.
So when you're not transferring authority and you're leaving somebody in charge, okay, that's not competent, or you haven't given them the tools to be competent, you're going to run into these problems often. And you're also creating yourself a nice little rake. So what happens when there's a problem? It doesn't get solved at the ground level or like it's supposed to appropriately. It goes all the way back up to you. All right. Now, if you have a good, a good foreman that generally, like, they're manager types, and their profile isn't really to think about how to solve the problem, but if you gave them the specs and the instructions on how to do it, they're going to do it, right? Think about what foreman you want to have placed. So when we have a conflict resolution document. How do we resolve when this situation happens? First of all, what's the steps to resolving it? So number one, have you documented? Number two, where are your photos? Number three, you're going to bring this to this meeting and discuss it. We're going to make sure that it wasn't covered in the pre-roof inspection. If it was, something that's outside of that, we're going to inform the client very quickly. We're going to make sure that they're aware of the problem. All right. If necessary, we're going to stop all work. Okay. Like, you can see how these are step by step by step,
Very interesting.
right?
Because it's important to train your team on the processes. Like, you can't be
Absolutely.
there all the time to manage these relationships. It's your process that has to
Right.
allow that all to occur. And it's out of your hands. What the foreman says,
Right.
what the subcontractor says, what he does, uses the
Right.
wrong bathroom and the client's pissed off, like all these things, right?
Right.
They have to be implemented from the top down.
But think about what you sell. What's your offer?
It's the experience.
It is the experience, but how do you guarantee someone an experience?
Answer the question for me.
Okay. You can't guarantee someone's experience. You can guarantee how you will resolve their problem.
Got it.
All right. So I mean, SOPs, like mistakes, they're not purchasing our services and our products because they didn't have faith in us. They're expecting us to have a solution to a problem in no matter what situation that it can occur. They want peace of mind. If you can't do that and you can't manage that at a level where it doesn't involve you, you're not running a business.
You're asking the client to hand you the keys.
Right. You no, like I'm telling you, that is the epitome of going to the casino and putting it on red on every single job. And
Hmm.
it's only a matter of time before you lose the bet, right? Because you have no control of your jobs. Maybe you have control when you're there, but if control is lost when you're not there, that's not a business, that's not an offer. You have nothing to offer. Okay? If you're required to be there. So this is how you develop an offer. This is how you sell a business eventually. It's these things, these mechanisms that are existing. And again, client journey. Why is it important? Because there's a journey that goes through production. There's a journey that ends the job. There's points of contact that go on throughout the project that allow you to do this project with average people and produce extraordinary results a high number of times. All right. If you're not there and you have places to work on in your business, the best place to start, I'm always going to say it, is in your offer, right? An offer is not marketing, by the way. That's what most people don't understand. An
Hmm.
offer is, Johnny, I'm going to offer you my services. I do roofing, but here's why you have nothing to worry about. Here's the pain point that you're feeling right now. So you're worried about not getting a good job, not getting value for the money you spend, having a crew that doesn't respect your home, having, somebody come into your home that's unqualified. You've like those are your pain points. All right, I'm not going to sell you the drill. I'm going to sell you the hole. All right? So how do I solve that? Well, I promise you this. I can't promise that there'll never be a problem because problems happen, right? But here's how we manage our projects from start to finish, right? We communicate, we give you full access to so you can see everything that's going on and every piece of contact or communication between our crews. If there is a problem, here's how we manage our the issues. We have a resolution, and I'm also going to hold you accountable to how we resolve problems. All right?
I like that.
So if we're having the discussion, and how often do we start these relationships off is, what if we had a problem?
That's important to get out of the way because that's a part of
Right.
managing expectations.
That's right. Well, and again, if you know your client journey, not every job's going to be smooth, but you should have a plan of when things come off the rails,
For
what
sure.
exactly happens, right?
There's no such thing as a smooth project. I mean, at the end of the
No.
day, this is construction. It's an ongoing problem constantly being solved. That's what we're doing. We're
Right.
solving problems to the end,
That's right.
right? And the product is not like a product off the shelf,
Hmm.
right? We do our best to produce the best product
Right.
within the expectation limits that we set
Hmm.
out for the client. They agree to that, and that's what we produce,
That's right.
right?
That's right. But all of that is a process.
It's all a
And
process.
and the difference between a rich contractor and a poor contractor is the process.
I like that. I like that. So when we're talking about like we leave a lot of our client, relationship management stuff to our staff, right?
Hmm.
Like hiring is important, right? We hire on personality, we hire on skill. Like there's a balance between the two, right?
Right. So here's my 2 cents on this. If you require a if you require somebody that's like a high level negotiator for your business, you've got bigger problems, right? If you require anything outside of a B or a C to operate your business, so like an A player to
Right.
manage it, you don't have an offer that's going to scale. All right, because there's only so many A players, and we all know there's a shortage. You need to really focus on running your business with B's and C's. All right. Because the second you depend on A's, and this is where guys really get this wrong, they don't get it, right? They just don't understand that there is no money. There's no ability to scale if you're dependent on one or two people in your business. It can't be that way. So again, when you break it down and you think about every step, every piece, and you start to put systems and people together, all right, that's where that is what scales. That is what grows businesses. That's what gets you away from having to solve everything, having to be or depend on somebody. Because again, I don't know about you, but I'm a risk manager. Everything I do is me assessing risk. Everything that I do at my point is looking at what kind of risk is involved in what I'm about to agree to or not agree to. All right. And is that risk appropriate for the reward? Right.
Yeah.
And like again, you got to think about your business and the strategy and all these other things that you're neglecting probably, all right, as your risk. This is a big risk,
I
right?
never saw it that way. Now, personally, I have like a romantic relationship with risk.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's a personal
all
problem.
hold on, and then it's an oxymoron because most contractors, and me too.
Yeah.
I'm prone to taking. I wouldn't be here if I didn't take
Good point.
huge,
Yeah.
stupid risks, right? And the best contractors out there do, absolutely. But at a certain point, you've got to start thinking. And again, we get off on it, like it's it's fun, it's exhilarating, like, but
Yeah.
that's not a business. That's you, and
We're talking
you
about
know
the liability side of risk
right.
here, right?
So for me, again, I don't get, I often tell my staff, unfortunately, like they can bring me the most exciting story and it doesn't move me anymore, right? Like, whoa, Jay, you're getting sued for 2 million bucks. I'm like, whatever. Like it is really become that way because everything has become so like processed that, and that's what you want. Like if you want to grow and you want to make money and you want to do things outside of your business and outside of, you know, contracting or like ever have any freedom, all right, you need to build a boring business. You got to like the variables need to be under control, every one of them. All right, if you can do that, then it doesn't matter. Like the system will always make up, the process will make up for a lack of talent. All right, a lack of resources, a lack of, and you are inadvertently controlling risk. That's all you're doing, right? So again, do you need to deliver a good product to customers almost every single time? Yes. That's like if you're making a promise to the market that you can do something competently, you need to do that. So however means necessary, that's process. That's taking somebody who's maybe not competent on their own but competent in your system,
Right.
competent on your watch, on your how you set up your business, and all of a sudden they're very competent in the eyes of the customer and their customers raving. That's the best business that you can have, and that's again what I try to set up with all my customers and get them to understand. I turn very B and C players into A players all the time, and when they leave they realize that very quickly, right? Is
I'm
that,
going to
oh,
admit,
mhm,
yeah, I never saw it that way. As far as like, I always thought that you need A players, but you're right. There's
no,
a resource problem with A
that
players. They
that'll
just
hurt you.
don't
Yeah,
exist. Absolutely, right?
it's not scalable,
Yeah. Now I
right?
wonder, like we've covered a lot of stuff here, but mastering the art of turning nightmare clients into dream partners. This is what
Right.
we're trying to do, right? This is
Hmm.
what this talk is about. And I'm dying to hear what the comments have to say about this. Like, did
Yeah,
we
for
did,
sure.
did we cover this? Did we get all this, Jay? What do you think? Like, is there more there?
Well, I think we've definitely given them the groundwork. I'm a framework guy, right? So like I want to
Yeah.
solve your problem. And like I said, you want a dream partner, then think about like we can't have that conversation if you don't have your offer in line. We can't have that conversation if you don't understand process. We can't have that conversation if you're not accountable yourself. We can't have that conversation if you don't know how to diffuse your own emotions. So there's layers to it. It's not a one and done thing. It's a
No.
commitment to a forever improvement process mindset, right? Is that again, I didn't get here, I didn't get to the position. I'm far from perfect, by the way. Like my business still has fucking problems. I still have things that slip through. We still have nightmare clients. Like it doesn't go away. What changes though is our ability to handle and deal with those without it risking our business,
Yeah.
right? The more
Like
you do, the more problems you're going to get. But again, you get good at diffusing these things and letting systems and process work through it. There's not a lot that at a certain point that can really that you're going to encounter that's going to threaten your business, threaten your livelihood, threaten everything that you've built, right?
now, I just don't want to risk missing anything here
Sure.
because I could just hear people in the comments like, yeah, but
Hmm.
my client's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
she's nuts. Like, there's no controlling her. Are you kidding me? Like, she's just out of her freaking mind.
Yeah,
And like, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to your ability, your emotional intelligence. Because you said managing your
absolutely.
emotion, chilling out, knowing how to
Yeah.
like. You got a lot going on there, Jay. Was that?
No, my daughter just broke into the room, so I'm
That's
trying to fight her off.
awesome. Don't ignore your daughter. Come
Yeah.
on, that's awesome.
No,
I
she
guess
got into the cage.
that's the part of being real here at Contractor
Yeah.
AI. Like, at the end of the day, we're family men. We're men and women, and we have real lives and real things going on. I'm glad
Yeah.
that that popped up. It's only a matter of time till she gets on the camera, right?
For sure, she loves being on camera.
So emotional intelligence, it
Yeah.
is like it is a buzzword, right? Like, do
Hmm.
people really understands what it means? It's like the ability to remove yourself from a situation, like almost like you're watching a movie. Like, Johnny is angry right now. Like, just step
Hmm.
outside of the situation and start kind of analyzing it from a different perspective. Like, calm down. Don't act on your emotions. Take that breath. Like, what
Hey,
can we say out there?
Come here. My daughter's just playing with the lights now. Come here. She wants on screen.
Did she make it on screen? Dude, that's awesome. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah, we're keeping it real. Is that what
That's
you had to say?
amazing.
Hi. Yes.
That's it.
The to wrap my points up. Again, emotional intelligence is a system in itself, right? One of the first things I teach in any of my programs, whenever you're working with me, is how to come in and neutralize negative emotions, how to balance. Because remember, like I said, we're nothing more than electrical beings, right? If we're hanging on to negative, all right, where's the positives? Like, how do we get those balanced so that we can make good decisions for our business, so that we don't feel burnt out and worn out all the time, so that we can actually show up and do high level important things like the stuff we don't want to do, build processes and
Right.
SOPs, the boring stuff. Well, if you don't learn to do that first, it's going to be a rough ride, right? You can do it, but it's hard, right? And we want to take the hard out of things, right? So the most important thing, again, like I said, especially as it's dealing with bad customers, dealing with hard decisions, dealing with difficult situations, get yourself to a neutral place, right? Don't wear the negative charge in terms of, like, when you walk away from that, you also have to go home and be a family member. You also have to be a dad or, a
Right.
husband or a partner. You can't take that stuff home with you. So the first thing is learn to manage those emotions. And emotional intelligence, I think, is a buzzword. It's easy to say, right? That can be different for everyone, but there's 100% a way to diffuse emotions, right? So
I heard a perfect description of what emotional intelligence is, and I'm afraid I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to try here, right?
yeah, go for
It's
it.
understanding your emotions and impulses while
Hmm.
understanding other people's emotions and impulses, and being
Okay.
able to find a solution that makes
Hmm.
everybody win.
Absolutely. Well, I agree with that part. So, yes, I'm all for that. That's a good negotiation tactic too. If you go into it with the mindset of win-win for everybody, you're gonna come out of it pretty, in pretty good shape. But again, I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on people, right? So, in terms of managing the types of emotions, ask yourself this is a simple question. Like, when you're frustrated, your your exact steps to analyze your frustration? Because don't try and just stuff it down or try and say I've got to be smarter about it. Like, it's okay to be frustrated, but what's the steps to taking that feeling that you have, not ignoring it, but actually having, questions that you ask yourself, ways to take it and put it into perspective where it doesn't affect you, right? And I think, again, a lot of guys don't realize what those emotions do to their decision making, what their emotions do to their team's decision making, how those emotions have kept them trapped in an unstable situation for longer, right? Because I come clients that come to me all the time. They've been through divorces, they have trauma, they have all these other things that are going on that are unrelated to the business. But guess what? They've never dealt with those. They've never, properly processed that stuff. And they bring it to everything they do. So then it goes into the business. And lo and behold, the staff with them are stressed out and they're wearing it. And again, it just keeps going around and around,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, I mean, again, as an owner and as a leader, you have to be like, you want to run a business or you want to run anything, you need to be neutral. Like, you need
Yep.
to be in a good place yourself, right?
And you better figure it out, because if you're acting on your emotional impulses, the
That's a
other
no-no.
person on the other side might
Hmm.
not be. And if you're
Right.
dealing with an emotionally intelligent person, remember one
Hmm.
thing: an angry person is the most easy person to manipulate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
So watch out. So you might as
Yeah.
well learn that skill, because the power of it is amazing.
Can't agree more. This has been awesome, dude. Next time, I'm going to host you and I'm just going to ask you questions. I swear. I
That's
feel
what I
like
thought we were doing this time, but I felt like I
I,
was the one interviewing you.
I know. I've got to get off these rants. I'm very passionate about it.
I love it. No, that's amazing.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me here, Jay. We'll do it again.
Yeah.